So as your role as Chief Data Officer, how do you get that role to have a seat at the table, at the executive table, to really shape the future of the company?
So the role of the company came about because there was a general realization within the company, at the top levels of the company, that data and analytics could actually help create outsized business outcomes for the company. And our strategy fundamentally was about creating that superior client experience, and all of that client experience is based upon a foundation of trusted data. And so Chief Data Officer role came about because of that. Unfortunately, the perceptions that a lot of other executives have about the role are, this is the person that's going to help us get our reports. If the CDO leaves that perception where it is, what they're going to find in about 6 months to a year, that their contributions are being viewed very tactically. They're not going to be able to command the kind of budget dollars that are truly required for transformational change. At the end of the day, a CDO fundamentally has to believe that data and analytics don't just deliver business outcomes, but deliver outsized business outcomes.
How do you articulate that to the other executives?
When I got on board, the business had preconceived ideas of how data and analytics could actually help them. And so they learned about these ideas either at cocktail parties or reading magazines. So I felt that there was a better way. And what I really envisioned was a co-ideation model. How about we bring the two sides together to actually creatively come up with a solution of how data and analytics could help them solve their business problem. And usually there's 5 objectives: increase revenue, decrease cost, increase profitability, increase operational improvement, or decrease risk. The question then becomes is, how do we translate a specific metric they've got into how data analytics can help them? We've got the data people there that understand what data we've got available. We've got the analytics people there that understand the nature of the analytic environment that we have and what's possible and what could be built. And we've got the business people there, and we'll co-ideate and come up with groundbreaking ideas that nobody in the room would have thought of individually. Separately, what we'll do is, through this process to test out the ideas, we'll have data economists that will actually put together valuation models for the ideas so that we can understand that while it sounds cool, is it going to deliver the intended numerical effect for the company? That co-ideation model helped us to go about changing culture at the company to where now the business people begin to understand what's possible with data analytics, because through this process we've actually gone about educating them. And so now the next problem that they have, they'll begin to understand how data analytics can be applied to their problems and use that as a first point of solution as opposed to maybe other methods. So data analytics has actually helped us solve a cultural problem of the company and become more data analytics driven as a company.
For the emerging chief data officer who is stepping into a new role at a new company, for example, what type of advice would you give them as they tackle that new opportunity and challenges?
At the end of the day, a CDO's job is to figure out how can the company achieve outsized business outcomes using data and analytics. A lot of CDOs think way technically, right? They think about the technical platform, they think about data quality, they think about governance. Those are items that need to be done. But without understanding the true impact that is really required from these initiatives first, a lot of what happens with the technical stack is moot. And so one of my biggest recommendations to a lot of my peers is focus on understanding the business problem, trying to really quantify the business problem, and then really test whether the solutions you've come up with are correct. And do the data economics around that solution up front, because it may sound like a great idea, but once you've done the mathematics, you may understand that the impact on EPS or impact on revenue is not as big as you hoped.
How do you get the chief data officer to have a seat at the table with the other executives, CIOs, CTOs, CMOs?
What the CDO needs to bring to the table is unique thinking around how can data and analytics help that particular executive swing the needle on that metric. Once you help that executive understand that, and you understand, you do the data economics around the magnitude that data analytics can help them, you suddenly have got somebody who's now very interested in using data analytics to help them solve that problem. On average, data analytics initiatives will deliver about 1,200% return on investment over a 5-year period. But once you do the economics around it, and that executive begins to understand the magnitude of large, they become believers. And that's the key. It's not about the technology and how quickly you're going to deliver reports. It's about the impact to that executive's bottom line. If you can tie that together as a CDO, you suddenly have got, a seat at their table.
How does Ascend show up at all in this to facilitate or enable this kind of conversation?
Ascend's got groundbreaking technology that helps us in an agile way repurpose a lot of what's already been built and helps us deliver to our ecosystem a lot faster, right? And today, we don't have the luxury of trying to deliver applications in 3 months. We've got to be able to react to market forces, in hours. And so trying to program ETL pipelines, if you will, like we used to do in the yesteryear, it just doesn't work for us anymore. So we need a much, much more agile data movement model, data translation model, and that's where Ascend comes in.